Krishna, everyone. Very warm welcome back again to our ongoing series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. But first, Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, we are continuing with our series on the summer season in Vrindavan. You may remember in our last lecture we discussed the traditional ways that Vrindavan's deities are worshipped in the hot weather of summer. Much of that information we gleaned from Srila Sanatana Goswami's Hari Bhakti Vilas. However, Srila Sanatana Goswami explains in his book Digdhara Nitika, that there are further ways of worshiping the Lord, which are not written in Hari Bhakti Vilas. In Digdhara Nitika, he writes, quote, "To remove cold in the winter season, supply the deities with warm clothes, a stove heater, and hot spicy foods. In the summer season, offer the Lord cold drinks mixed with ice and cooling ingredients." And he continues, "In both winter and summer, after eating, one should make a nice bed for the Lord and request him to take rest in it." Then he says, "In the winter, give him sufficient rest, but in summer you can give the Lord an extended amount of rest because summer days are longer." That's so nice. Then he concludes, "All of these rules of the established acharyas must be followed." So there you have some more detailed information, how to worship the Lord and your deities in summertime. So in our Vrindavan Research Institute, I found another beautiful summer pastime in the book Yugal Milan Katha. It has a nice ring to it. Yugal Milan Katha by Kishori Mohandas. Now I did some research. He was a poet who lived around the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wrote specifically in the Braj Bhasa language. Now most of his poetries have unfortunately been lost in time, but scholars say that his way of describing pastimes is known as Lila Samadhi. Lila Samadhi, which means that just by listening to the Lila, one becomes fully immersed in the pastime. So, Kishori Mohandas, he writes, "Once, on a very hot, sunny afternoon, Krishna was sitting under the shadow of a kadamba tree in a forest called Viraha Nikandan Van. Viraha Nikandan Van, which translated literally means the forest of pacifying burning separation. The forest of pacifying burning separation." And we'll see why as we go on here. Now at this time, all of Krishna's cowherd boyfriends had gone to Bhadravan to play ball. And Krishna was just taking a break from herding the cows. Now I was reading, the poet writes, that Viraha Nikandan Van is a very special forest. Why? Because he writes, it's filled with the sweet smell of gunja vines, the shadows of tamal trees, the bitterness of neem trees, the intoxication of malati flower vines, the colors of sadabahar flower trees, and the love of kadamba trees. Very special forest. Now, as Krishna started to fall asleep under the kadamba tree, suddenly a big shower of kadamba flowers started falling down on him. Our poet says, as if welcoming him to the forest. So Krishna smiled, and picking up one kadamba flower, he started smelling it. And as soon as he smelled the sweet fragrance of the flower, his body started feeling intense separation from Radha, and all these ecstatic symptoms started appearing on his body. And our poet says this was due to the fact that the color of the kadamba flower is exactly the color of Sri Radha's complexion. And that reminded me that there's that photo of Prabhupada, with a beautiful flower there, and it's a yellow gold color. Maybe it was a kandama flower, I don't know. And he was looking at that flower and he was saying, "This is the color of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Famous photo and caption there. So Krishna became ecstatic just smelling and seeing the color of this flower because it reminded him of Srimati Radharani. And within moments, Krishna was calling out to Sri Radha as follows: "O Radhe, you are the sunshine of my life, the moonlight of my passion, the ocean of my love, and the sky of my happiness. You are the sunshine of my life, the moonlight of my passion, and the ocean of my love, and the sky of my happiness. Where are you? Please become visible to me." Now, after listening to Krishna's appeals to his beloved Sri Radha, the vines of the forest spoke up. Now remember, in Vrindavan, everything's personal. All living entities there are fully realized pure devotees of the Lord, including the vines. So the vines of the forest, they spoke up and said to him, "Dearest Krishna, you are in the forest of separation. Whenever the gopis and Radha feel your separation, this forest gives them shelter, and we pacify them with songs." So curious, Krishna turned towards the vines and he asked, "Dearest forest vines, what songs do you sing to pacify Sri Radha and her gopis?" And the vines replied very nicely, "We sing songs about meeting one's beloved." So they become pacified. Sambhog. So Krishna said, "Then you must know how much separation Sri Radha feels when she's away from me." And the vines replied, "Oh, yes, we do." And then they explained, "Apart from you, Sri Radha's body burns in separation like the summer season. Her eyes flood with tears like the monsoon season. Her hands and feet become cold like the winter season. Her heart breaks into pieces like leaves falling in the autumn season. Her breath becomes fast like the dewy season, and her desires blossom like flowers in the spring season." Transcendental poetry, Braj poetry. Now Krishna became mesmerized hearing the feelings that Sri Radha undergoes in separation from him. So he said, "My dear vines, being separated from Sri Radha, my body feels weak and is burning like the surface of the sun, like the hot lava of a volcano, like melted gold, and like the fire of a blazing yajna." So the vine said, "Oh, then let us ask Vayu Rani." Vayu Rani. Vayu Rani is the queen of winds in the forest of Braj. Let's ask her to go and collect dust from the lotus feet of Sri Radha, and that dust will soothe your feelings of separation. So the Vayu Rani quickly went to Varshana, where Sri Radha was sitting in a beautiful kunja, a beautiful grove, and blowing by Sri Radha, she took some dust from her lotus feet. Then she returned to Viraha Nikandan Van and gave this dust to the vines, who mixed the dust of Radharani's lotus feet with Jamuna jal, with Jamuna water, and then those vines, they smeared that mixture all over Krishna's body. Now the poet Kishori Mohandasi writes, what was the effect? On his forehead, it worked like a chintamani gem. On his throat, it worked like nectar to the thirsty. On his chest, it worked like a sapphire gem. And on his arms, it worked like cold winds in the rain. Altogether making him feel 1,000,000 times cooler than sandalwood paste, because he was burning in separation. Then, at last, the vines, they wrote Shri Radha all over Krishna's body with sandalwood paste and the twig of a tulsi plant. Sri Radha, Sri Radha, Sri Radha, Sri Radha. Now when Krishna saw the names of Sri Radha on his body, he felt satisfied. Actually, I found a Bengali saying, Gaur Shaim Duhu Ek Hai Antar Bahir Roop Deiraj Me Lotiye Kotikam Duklup. The form of Radha and Krishna are as one love. The difference is just the colors of their complexions. When Krishna's body is covered by the dust from Sri Radha's lotus feet, his pain and separation is pacified, as we see in this pastime. So then, Krishna thanked the vines and Vayu Devi, the wind of the Vrindavan forest, for easing his separation from Sri Radha. But then he admitted, my body feels rejuvenated after this treatment, but my heart is still feeling separation from Sri Priya, another beautiful name. My heart is still feeling separation from Sri Priya. Let me run now to Varshana, where the queen of my heart always stays with her girlfriends, with her sakis. And as Krishna raced out of the forest, the vines, the trees, and the pathways of this exceptionally mystical forest cheered him on, wishing him the best in his meeting with Sri Radha. Now, Krishna's the master of all mystics, and so he reached Varshana in a matter of seconds. And there he found Sri Radha and her friends swimming in a clear pool of water, a little kund, to keep cool from the summer heat. And our poet, he comments that Sri Radha made the fish in that pond feel ashamed by her expert swimming. And when Sri Radha saw Krishna, she very shyly welcomed him. But Lalita Saki, who we've discussed many times is always protective of Sri Radha, whispered something into Vrindadevi's ear. And then Vrindadevi very quickly came forward and said to Krishna, Krishna, you are in Gopi's territory now. In order to stay here, you have to entertain all of them as well as Sri Radha. So Krishna, okay, I have to entertain everybody to stay here. I'll find some type of entertainment. So he thought for a while, and then he suddenly came up with an idea. He said, I will hide under the water here in this pond, and all of you gopis, along with your queen, can try and find me. This will be our entertainment. So then, after asking the gopis to close their eyes, Krishna entered the pond, and he hid under a very large lotus leaf. Sometimes in India we see that. There's lotuses in a pond, but sometimes there's a big leaf, huge leaf, with lotus flowers. So he hid under such lotus leaf. And then opening their eyes, Sri Radha and the gopis very eagerly jumped into the pond to search for Krishna. But as time passed, they were unable to find him, and they became anxious for his safety, because they were thinking, no one can hold their breath this long. So then after another fruitless search, Sri Radha and the gopis finally came out of the water, and sitting on the bank of the pond, they just started crying incessantly. That all of a sudden, just in your mind's eye, you can picture this, all of a sudden, Krishna leapt out of the water onto the bank of the pond with this big lotus leaf on his head. So the gopis were overjoyed to see Krishna safe and sound, but seeing this large green, lotus leaf drooping over Krishna's head, it caused them to laugh so hard that the poet says they all fell over. And then after a short time, they became, composed, and they carefully wrapped the divine couple in colorful dry towels. And then they offered them a full artik. And at the end of the artik, the gopis stood before Krishna, and they awarded him the name Jal Jivan. We will call you Jal Jivan, meaning literally one whose life exists even underwater. Jal Jivan, one whose life exists even underwater. And there are several instances, many actually, where Krishna spends a long time in or under the water. Like during the Kaliya Dhaman Leela, when he fought the Kaliya serpent, I think it was 7 straight hours he was in the water of the Jamuna. And when Nanda Maharaj was taken to Varuna Loka, under the waters of the Jamuna, we know that Krishna went there to save him. He was under the water for a long time. So Jal Jivan, one whose life exists even underwater. So our Kishori Mohandas, we can say ours because he's a great Vaishnava and he's enlightening us with these pastimes. He ends his beautiful poem by writing, I really like this, I pray to the Lord of good times that my good days will come soon, and I will swim in the pond of love with the divine couple and witness them enjoying their loving pastimes. So sweet. So, I thought today we could end with some very beautiful verses from Govinda Lilamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Very pertinent to what we've been discussing today. So he writes, seeing you both enter the forest cottage, this forest of Vrindavan has become very happy. On the pretext of its vines moving as the gopis walk by them, Vrindavan forest is dancing in ecstasy and shaking its garments of sumana flower pollen. This forest jubilantly welcomes you both by placing a wonderful carpet of multicolored flowers on the path before your lotus feet. The splendor of your moon-like faces has caused the moonshine-studded pavements here to melt. Vrindavan forest has now taken that moonstone water, mixed it with shaimaka grains, durva grass, and exquisite lotus flowers growing by the path, and presented that mixture to both of you as water for washing your lotus feet. This Vrindavan forest now offers you both arghya water, mixed with durva grass and sumana flowers and various new shoots. This forest also offers you ajman water, mixed with jaya fruits, cloves, jati fruits, and fresh buds that have fallen on the path before your feet. Vrindavan forest jubilantly anoints your limbs with the fragrance of its own sandalwood, musk, aguru, and kumkuma carried in the breeze. This forest dusts your bodies with the scented powder of many kinds of flower pollen. This Vrindavan forest offers arti to you. On the pretext of a swarm of bumblebees carrying waves of aromatic pollen from various flowers, it offers you incense. On the pretext of moving champak flowers, it offers you a lamp. It offers you foodstuff in the form of its own delicious fruits. All glories to Sri Vrindavan's forest. Hare Krishna. So wonderful. So we'll end there. I pray that this lecture today has inspired all of you in your love for the 12 forests of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thank you to Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham. So we'll be back in a few days. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yogi ki, back home, back to Godhead ki. Nitai Gaur Pimanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Sham. Hare Krishna. See you soon.